We are now in Module 11 for Business Communications, and in this module I'm going to be going over delivering business presentations, designing business presentations, and then your check-ins, discussions, and assignments. So first we're going to start with delivering your business presentation. So the learning outcomes are to select, design, and use presentation visuals effectively, deliver speeches with increasing confidence, discuss strategies for presenting an alternate delivery situations such as team and distance presentations. So presenting mistakes. These are things you want to avoid when presenting. Presenting to screen. Don't talk to your presentation screen. Talk to your audience. It's okay to walk around, use hand gestures, ask questions, get the audience engaged. Use a clicker to help move the slides in your presentation. You can buy these clickers at Staples, Office Depot. They're probably around anywhere from 30 to 60 bucks. Clutching your notes. Practice your presentation so that notes are not needed, or to keep your notes on a podium to refer to, but only if needed. Now, this is easier said than done, guys. It takes practice. It's not going to happen your first couple times. That's why it's good to practice in front of maybe family, friends, your dog, at home first, before doing it in front of a group setting or an audience. Defensive body language. Do not cross your hands in front of you. Don't keep your hands behind your back. This can show that you are uncomfortable, anxious, and not prepared. Have your hands at your side or talk with your hands to show confidence in not just yourself, but the information that you're presenting. Standing in front of the screen. You don't want to cover the screen to your audience. You want to make sure that you're able to see it. So always kind of stand to the side or kind of standing behind the podium, which is usually on one of the sides of the screen. Presentation methods. Memorize. So the speaker writes out a speech, commits it to memory, and recites it verbatim. So kind of like at a graduation ceremony, right? Someone would have the speech memorized. A manuscript. A speaker writes out the entire speech and reads it to the audience, otherwise called a scripted presentation. Again, easier said than done. This takes a lot of practice. Presentation methods. Impromptu. Speaker is called on without prior notice. I would be extremely nervous to do that. Extemporaneous. Speaker plans, prepares, and rehearses, but does not write everything down. Interactive tools for presentations. You can use Poll Everywhere, Kahoot, Unsplash Photos, Vislo charts, and business graphics. So it's always nice to use different types of tools to keep the audience engaged. PowerPoint slides, keep them simple. Don't have too much type in there where you can't read it. Don't have too many visuals or graphics where it looks like someone just threw up on the presentation. If you notice, my presentations throughout this semester are very clean, precise, to the point. Make sure your type is big enough to view. So what is the purpose of your presentation? Determine what you want to accomplish here. Condense a presentation into an achievable purpose. You don't want it to be too long and lose the interest of your audience. Develop a phrase, a single thought that the audience needs to take with them from the presentation. Audience should be in a position to describe the central purpose of the presentation. Consider the audience, and you should know who your audience is prior to giving your presentation. Who is the audience and who requested the presentation? Why is the topic important to the audience? What will the audience do with the information presented? What environmental factors affect the presentation, such as, is it going to be in a noisy restaurant? Are you going to have the technology to plug into your PowerPoint? I can't tell you how many times I've gone to see a presentation or have done a presentation and they didn't have the proper cords to connect the laptop to the presentation screen. I think it's the HDMI cable, and how people were scrambling around trying to find a cable so that someone could show their presentation, right? So you need to make sure that all this is available, or a microphone. Make sure you have a working microphone if you're going to be talking in front of a large crowd. What's the noise level going to be like? Parts of a presentation. So you have your introduction, capturing attention, involve the audience, establishing rapport, presenting the purpose statement, reviewing the points that will be developed, introducing yourself, obviously, maybe thanking the people who are having you, Some people kind of have like a little joke where they start off to involve the audience. The body of the presentation. How can we get audience engaged in our topic? How can we improve audience understanding of our analysis? Techniques to maintain interest. Provide relevant statistics, using those charts and graphs to show the statistics. Use quotes from credible sources, so testimonials. Use interesting anecdotes. Use jokes and humor, but carefully. Maybe have someone review your jokes and humor because things are, you want to make sure you're politically correct and you're not offending anyone as well. Encourage audience involvement. The closing part of your presentation. What is the goal of the closing? What are some techniques you can use to increase the strength of your closing? Signal to the audience you are moving into the close, transition slide. Commit the time and energy needed to develop a creative and memorable conclusion. Tie the closing to the introduction to strengthen unity of the presentation. Use transition words that indicate movement from the body to the closing. I always like to have a closing slide that says questions where I can get final questions from people. And then I always have a slide with my contact information if anyone needs to contact me further after the presentation. Now, if you're presenting in within your organization, people kind of already know you, so you don't have to have contact information. So again, know your audience ahead of time before creating your slides. Additional resources. Here are a ton of links and resources for you guys to know how to do presentations here. I highly recommend you watch the YouTube videos and scroll through these links. All right, so that was delivering business presentations. Now, how do we design these business presentations? So common PowerPoint mistakes. PowerPoint is the biggest tool and most popular tool to create presentations. I use PowerPoint for everything. So, common mistakes with PowerPoint. You don't know your topic. Avoid looking at note cards or reading slides word for word. Confidence is key, and always practice, practice, practice. You have too many or too few images. Too many images can be overwhelming to your audience. It can make it look cluttered and unprofessional. Too few images can lead to miscommunication and overall loss of attention among your audience. Bad clip art. Oh, I cringe when I see bad clip art. Not only is poor clip art distracting, it also makes your presentation look less put together. Your presentation is a reflection of your dedication and effort. How many of you guys have professors that use bad clip art, right? It kills me. Too much, not enough text. Having too much text won't benefit anyone. You'll bore your readers to tears, and chances are they won't even be able to finish reading it before you're on to the next slide. Plus, if you're far away, they're not going to be able to read it because the type's going to be too small. So just don't do it. Have enough key points so you don't skim over important topics. Bad choice of fonts or colors. The whole point of your presentation is to make sure your message is clear and precise as possible. Use fonts that are easy to read, such as sans serif type faces. Use neutral light colored backgrounds with a dark font. Avoid neons and yellows. So if you notice my presentation template, it's really easy to read, right? It's a white background and navy font color. Really basic font type here, and I always have the logo in the bottom right-hand corner. So, and depending on what slide I use, it's a presentation template. Here I'm using in PowerPoint, so it all matches for branding purposes. And it's easy to read. Guidelines to design presentation visuals. Limit slide content to key ideas presented in a few words as possible. Develop one major idea that the audiences can quickly understand. Choose an effective template and powerful images to reinforce ideas. Illustrate complex ideas or graphics and enliven boring content. So those are the guidelines to design the presentation visuals. Design tips for audience handouts. So when you're handing out paper, whatever, at a trade show or a conference, you should add value for individual audience members. It shouldn't just be something that they're just going to throw in the trash. Help audience to remember the message. Serve as a reference for later consideration or action. Encourage involvement when space is provided for note-taking or response. I recommend just like a half page if you're going to print something out. Save paper, save printing. And if you really don't think it's going to benefit your audience, don't even waste your time because people are just going to throw it away. Vocal qualities. Activities ensuring efficient vocal qualities. Breathe properly and relax. listen to yourself, develop flexibility, articulation, pleasant speech, pronunciation, accurate sounds. So these are all things you're going to want to practice ahead of time, and it does get easier as you do it. Guidelines for team presentations. Oh, the number one guideline for a team presentation is to practice. You need to practice together and in person, not just on Zoom. So agree on the purpose, practice ahead of time, decide who will open and conclude the presentation, pay attention to speaker transitions, and deliver and field questions as a team. Now, as you practice together, you'll learn how the speaker transitions with each other because you'll know your teammates. You'll also learn what their strengths and weaknesses are. Distance presentation, so video conferencing or Zoom, used for large, high exposure activities. Technologies are lower in cost, improve quality, and increase ease cost. Internet conferencing allows a company to conduct a presentation in real time over the internet simultaneously with a conference telephone call, also called webcasting. A lot of big organizations will just throw everyone in the conference room and set up one big conference phone in the center of the table, and it's a special type of phone with like these really cool speakers, so it's really nice for conference calls. Guidelines for distance presentations. Establish rapport with participants prior to the presentation. Be aware of your background and lighting and sound quality. They make so many cool tools these days. I just work off a laptop. I don't even have a desktop computer. I don't even know when the last time I had a desktop computer. And when I create my videos, I bought this little loom light that hooks onto my laptop. I think it was like 30 bucks on Amazon, and it just helps so much with the lighting. And then I also have in my office just like a solid color wall for my background. So it's super simple, easy, didn't cost a bunch of money. And then developing those high quality graphics, which I had you guys kind of explained about Canva in the previous module, so you guys can use that free resource. So additional resources on how to deliver and design presentations, please click on these links. No YouTube video on these links, but PowerPoint is a great one here, so I highly recommend doing that. And your Module 11 assignments are check-in 6, celebrity, written assignment number 2, because we are just moving right along here, and it's going to be on the topic of persuasion. So going back to those persuasive lecture slides will help you. And I hope everyone has a great week.